Welcome to TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast. Sponsored by CGC Cards, card grading all in one place. CGC Cards is devoted to expert grading of collectible cards, including TCGs, sports cards, and non-sports cards. And by sportscollectorsdaily.com. If it happens in the hobby, you'll find it on sportscollectorsdaily.com. And sponsored by GemRate.com. The latest grading statistic from the 4 major grading companies is just a click away. Visit GemRate.com. It's free. And now, here's our host, Drew Pelto.
Well, hello everybody. Once again, we're coming to you with TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast. It's a place where we talk all things related to TTM, cards, autographs, collecting, and whatever else really comes to mind during our hour here as we record this one. This is season number 6, episode number 44. We're coming to you on December 7th of 2024 with this nationally ranked sports collectibles podcast. I am Drew Pelto, hosting this show from a chilly North Texas, high of 48 today, which, I mean, I love that. This is perfect for me this time of year. So no complaints here from me. We're getting back up in the 60s again on Monday, apparently, which, I mean, I'm still not complaining about that either. I'll gladly take that over the 105s I've been talking about here, in some weeks over the summers there. So very glad to see that. And we are joined by Troy Rutter once again, coming to us from Iowa. Troy, how are things going out there?
Pretty good. Keeping with the weather. It's been a little cool, and we actually had some kind of a wind advisory on Thursday or something. So that was a little different, but hey, had a little bit of the S word up here, but
oh yeah,
it's scattered to the winds. Hopefully we can, it's kind of a mixed bag. I get looks from all my friends who want, obviously, some precipitation during the winter here in the farmland, but I'm okay if it's a moderate winter.
Yeah, just don't take a look at what happened with Cleveland last week. My dad emailed me, and it's funny because there was, over in Ashtabula, which is a town about maybe half an hour east of my hometown, they got hit with like 5 feet of snow across the time there. But downtown Cleveland itself, like less than 6 inches, it seemed like there. There was somebody took a video driving along what they call the inner belt in Cleveland, the Ohio Route 2. Starting from where it splits off from 2 and 90 over in Euclid, drove from there 8 miles from Euclid into Mentor. And the change in that just across 8 miles was ridiculous. You had like just this little light dusting there in Euclid into like total whiteout conditions in a neighborhood in Mentor. It's like, how does this happen across only 8 miles? Such a huge difference there. But even there, I mean, I saw, places like Willoughby got 4 inches. Then you get into Paynesville, you get a full foot. You get over to Madison, there's 2 feet there. It's like, God, how does this happen across just a single county? But that's the fun of lake effect snow, I guess, is stuff like that happening.
Yeah, I guess I did remember that some people got just a little bit more.
Yeah, just
they keep it. It still seems early for me.
Right. Yeah, that's with Cleveland. It was always all right. Once you hit Thanksgiving, it's like, all right, you're going to be getting something here very soon. Most years, at least. And this year, it hit right then. So, yeah. Well, taking a look around the sports world and some show news as well. Want to tell you right now, we are on Blue Sky as a show now. You can follow us at TTM Cast on Blue Sky. Very easy to find us. Should be about the same content as what we put up on Twitter. Just, any kind of show announcements and anything like that should be going up on there. We are still, of course, on Twitter at CastTTM. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at TTM Cast. But give us a follow there on Blue Sky if you've moved over onto there. I know I've taken my limited Twitter presence has now moved into a limited Blue Sky presence. So post stuff there more often this year. That's gonna be one of my goals for 2025 to start using stuff like that more often to post any TTMs I get and all that. And so yeah, hopefully I'll be active on there. I'll try to keep to that as well. We'll try to keep TTM Cast active over on there too. Shit.
Yeah. I got TTM autograph over there, but there are no posts. So just warning you, I did manage to secure it over there, but nothing to show over there for me.
Yep. So make sure you give us a follow there. We'll figure something out for what to do with it there and how to keep active at some point here. But yeah, give us a follow there. We'll talk more about that here whenever we get into giving our email address and all that kind of stuff out. But It's championship week, though, in college football. So always a fun time of year as get the conference championship games that are coming up. We've got 2 of them last night, 4 of them going on today. And Boise State, my number 2 college team, has won the Mountain West and probably secured an opening round bye in the college football playoff as well with that. So very happy to see that. Army has won the AAC, and we've got a few games going on tonight with across all of today, including, I know, Troy, you had it in yours, so I won't take the thunder away from you there too much. But right up the road from me is the Iowa State and Arizona State game. As if I wanted to, I could go up and get tickets. The StubHub had some like nosebleeds for like $11, and I'm like, that is very tempting right there. I might have to go and do that, but unfortunately, I've got other stuff I got to do today here around, so I'm gonna have to miss out on that. But try to catch it on TV there, of course. Over the ACC, we get Clemson and SMU. They're playing over in Charlotte for that game. We've also got later on in the evening the SEC and Big Ten championship games with Georgia versus Texas and Oregon versus Penn State. So winners of those obviously will get their placements set in the college football playoff. Even the losing teams, I think some of them might have a chance at getting into it as well. So it'll be interesting to see what all happens there with those winners and the losers and everything else. So always some fun stuff here with college football going on this time of year. As for me, I mentioned last week about the winter meetings being here in Dallas, and I'm still kind of lukewarm on whether I'm going to go and try to graph those or not. I mean, I don't really know. The biggest problem is I concentrate mostly on getting cards signed, and I don't know who all is going to be there. So it makes it very hard to prepare for these kinds of things. So it's like I can't really, pull a card of everybody that might be there. Otherwise, I'm going to be, hauling a hand truck with a super monster box on it to get around. So it's like I know the owners are going to be there, but that's like the only former MLB players that are owners. There's got what, Buster Posey, and that's it. Now that Jeter's no longer involved with the Marlins. A few GMs. I think all the GMs are going to be there, but even that, it's like I don't need Chris Getz that badly. I could use Howie Kendrick. I do have a set card or 2 for him, so I might go for somebody like him, but there aren't that many former players now that are GMs now either. I mean, Jerry Dipoto is another one that I have stuff on, but I don't have a major need for, so yeah, I don't know about that. Former managers, I've got cards on a lot of them, but not many set needs on a lot of them, so I'm like, do I really want to go and waste my time on this? Do I want to take a day off to do it? Do I want to, burn a weekend? And I'm like, probably not. I might try to hit up an evening once I see, who all is there with some of the MLB network people that are going to be out there or something. But for the most part, I'll try my luck at spring training on a lot of them, I think. So I'm largely meh on that. I'm probably going to skip out on most of it because, of course, on Wednesday, we also have the Rangers toy drive going on here. So again, I don't know who any of the players are yet for that. I know John Gray is the big one. He's going to be running everything with it. So as the big name on that, he'll definitely be there. And he's another one that I don't need badly because I can get him at spring training with no problem. Great guy if you find him in person. You will literally sign everything for you. I got him on, I want to say 3 cards last year. A friend of mine had like 4 cards for him, and he had a whole bunch more. He said, yeah, hey, if you just sign these, I'll see you later on in the week. I've got more for you. He's like, dude, break them out now. I'll knock them all out for you now. And so, like, okay, cool. And Gray signed like 20 cards for him across that time with no problem. He just sitting there like, chatting with everybody the whole time as he's watching the other pitchers throw. So I can get him anytime. I'm not really too worried about him. So if there's nobody I have a set need for, I'm like, I might, go and donate a toy and hang out and stuff, but I'm not going to be graphing it really too heavily at all for that, right? Oh. So, I still got my roll of stamps here. I do have my envelopes prepped. I got to, let's see here. Yeah, I've got the stack of envelopes right here that at least has all of my my address stuff on it. I just need to figure out, okay, players, who am I going to send to, put their addresses on them and get everything written out. But I've at least got that out of the way. And that's usually one of the things that annoys me most, is sitting there just stamp over and over again with my address stamps. So glad I've got that at least done and rolling, so I can hopefully knock out some letters there. And finally getting my spring trading books prepped here. I went and punched all of my card stock last week at my wife's office. So got that ready to go so I can start sticking photo corners on and get my books ready. So a lot of spring trading prep going on. And that's pretty much what I've got set looking ahead of me here over a spring or over a winter break as well. So try to knock all that out. Troy, what do you got going on here lately?
Well, I kind of took the week off from anything and everything TTMing, just kind of recentering, getting ready for the winter. So that's kind of my week. I'm waiting for a new couch today, so if my phone goes off, it means they're early. Uh, but yeah, I don't know if you mentioned it. Let's see. I'm gonna look down here and just see. So what about the Canadian Post situation? I know you sent me any of that this past week.
Yeah, we actually talked about that with Clemente coming up in Clemente's world a little bit there, but yeah, I sent out a whole bunch of TTMs to Canada and forgot that, oh yeah, they're on strike, and now the strike is still going on, and so yeah, Clemente and I will talk about that a little bit, and I'm sitting here with 4 more Canadian stamps to use, and I'm like, nah, we're gonna be waiting on those until this gets resolved, so yeah, that's not good.
They actually had a notice at the top of the post office page, and I just looked today and saw that was gone, but looks like strike's still going on up there. But yeah, so that's kind of a bummer especially for you hockey TTMers.
Oh yeah.
I do have another Beckett woe. I thought I did everything right again. So last time I had an issue. This time I accidentally selected store pickup apparently. So I've been trying to and my rep is no longer there. The email is back. So I've been emailing and not getting a response. And all I want to do is switch it to their 2 to 4 day shipping. And I do have a friend down there in Plano that can pick it up if I actually need to. But I took advantage of their Thanksgiving Black Friday sale. And so I kind of want to send them out, but I don't want to send them out until I know that the order is okay to send. So
I was going to volunteer to pick them up for you too. I mean, I'm right down the road from there, and I know like Ethan and a couple other guys that work in there. So yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll just send them off, and maybe if they figure it out and are able to charge me the $12 shipping, do it, and if not, have one of you guys stop down there. But yeah, I did put in a whole bunch of Diamond Kings, saved about $85 because it's a 25% off sale. So a couple Fred McGriffs, and I forget, just some other Diamond Kings and randomness. So, and then of course the Iowa State Big 12 game today.
Yes.
For those who don't know, this is kind of a big deal because our football program hasn't been the best in its history. So, I'll be watching that hopefully here on the new couch. Hopefully it doesn't come like after, because I have this big window. It's kind of like the cable company, they give you a whole day window to come. So
might be from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then they show up at 10:30 p.m. instead. So yep,
exactly. And kind of alluded to it last week. I've been listing some of my duplicate cards on the auction sites, and it's a lot more work than what I remember. So that's going very slowly. So I don't really think I need to share the link right now, but I only have about 67, and most of those are bowling duplicates for the bowling fans. So it goes a lot slower than I remember it going, but we'll see how many of those I get up, and actually put a notice in the description there that if you are a player and see your card here and are distressed, I'm sorry, but these are duplicate ones, and I just kind of need to thin out the collection, because last thing I want to do is be that guy that causes someone to stop signing. So
exactly,
that's my week. It's I said I wasn't doing anything TTM related, but I guess some of those kind of relate.
It's still autograph related, even if it's not mailing stuff out. So yeah, we'll count it. That works. So yeah. Well, as we said, we've got Clemente Lisi joining us on the show this week. We talk about that Canadian Post strike or Canada Post strike that's going on, as well as some hockey and soccer collectibles and sport news there across those two, as we have the MLS Championship or the MLS Cup game going on, I believe, today as well. So a very, very busy day in sports across multiple forms of football. Unfortunately, I don't have the Australian rules football news to go along with it, as they're in between the women's and men's season right now. So only 2 of the 3 forms that I follow closely have anything going on with them. But yeah, Clemente Lisi will be on the show in Clemente's world. And before we get to him, we'll have Baker's Dozen covering all the news from the world of sports collectibles. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, it's going to be a lot of set releases in this week's news, as a lot of the card companies scrambling to get stuff out before Christmas and before the end of the year and get them onto those 2024 books instead of the 2025 ones. So have a lot to talk about in there with stuff that's going to be hitting the shelves here soon. We'll also talk making the grade with all things from the world of card grading. The TTM cast stamp approval, where Troy and I give our thumbs up to something, anything from the previous week. Sometimes it's sports related. Most of the time it's not. You never know what it's going to be, so make sure you stick around for that. We got the Vern Rapp Minute, covering deaths in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, and politics. Anybody you might consider TTMing, we try to let you know if they have passed away. And, of course, the main reason why we all are here, it is our TTM returns. And fortunately, unlike last week where we had the dual shutout, we do have stuff on that list this week. So if you've been tuning in for that, you're gonna have a much better time this week. So looking forward to that.
Earning our name.
What's that?
Earning our name.
Yes, exactly. Finally back to it. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can email us. Troy, where can people do that at?
The best email address is ttmcast@yahoo.com.
If you want to find us directly, as I said earlier, I am on Blue Sky at DFW Grapher, also on Twitter and Instagram at DFW Grapher as well. My website is dfwgrapher.com, and you can email me. And you can email me directly. Not sure what happened there. At dfwgrapher@gmail.com. Troy, where can people find you at?
Well, mostly across the interwebs. I am at TTM Autograph, including my website at ttmautograph.com. And I kind of been talking about my 1991 Don Russ set, and you could actually see all of them on one page. I only need about 20 left right there on the website. And then my new Blue Sky account is TTM Autograph, and what's left, Instagram, is TTM Autograph as well. So there you go.
Yeah, give us a follow if you haven't yet, and see all of our fun posts we have, any autographs we pull in, and other random stuff from our collections. I think that about does it for our intro here. Let's go ahead and move on into Baker's Dozen.
Baker's Dozen, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Smart collectors turn to Sports Collectors Daily to stay up to date. From new releases to incredible collections hitting the auction block, news from inside the business of sports collectibles, and much more, Sports Collectors Daily has it, all with no subscription cost. SC Daily also delivers a live look at the most watched sports card auctions on eBay for every sport. Sign up to get the headlines in your email for free, or just visit the website whenever you like. With 16,000 stories in the archive going back 16 years, there is always plenty to read at SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Baker's Dozen is a news summary of all things going on in the collectibles world, any info and news that have come out in the previous week. Want to remind you, I do a weekly article on SportsCollectorsDaily.com. We had Rich Miller, almost called him Bill Miller, the former Red Sox third baseman, but Rich Miller, the editor of the show, on a couple of weeks ago to talk to him, and he runs a great site there. I write for them typically once a week. I mentioned I don't have a new article per se right now, as the one that I'd written for last week got posted over the weekend. So I figure, you know what, because that will take this week off here and go ahead and do one next week. So go ahead and check that article out from this past week if you haven't yet. And not sure what I'll have for this week's one, but I will, at least you'll be able to see my TTM successes in that here once I get that written. So yeah, sportscollectorsdaily.com. Go and check those out. If you don't have a TTM Cast t-shirt and want one, if you didn't win one back when we were giving them away here, you can buy your own now. TTMcast.com. Check out the top banner for the TTM Cast store. We've got t-shirts on there. We've got, God, what else is on there? I know we've got a hoodie on there, a hat, some other accessories and such, some stickers. Go check it out, TTMcast.com, and buy yourself a shirt. Help rep the show. A little hobby news. I want to remind you, actually more show news, I guess, here, but want to remind you to get your items in for Les Wolf. We're going to do appraisals later this month. Just before Christmas, we'll get Les on. So about 2 weeks from now, I believe, is when we've got him penciled in to do some authentications and appraisals and all that stuff. So get your items in, give us some photos, descriptions, anything like that. If you want Les to take a look at them, ttmcast@yahoo.com is, of course, the email, as Troy mentioned a moment ago. Please get those to us by about December 16th. About December 16th or so. We'll try to have Les take a look at those a few days after that and have them ready for that week's show.
Cool.
Yeah. it's always fun getting to see the items and the stories behind them there from any collectors and listeners out there. So always good to get that in. We got some new releases, so let's take a look at these here as we have a very full release calendar here. As I said, trying to, get all the companies trying to get stuff out right before Christmas, get them on the books before the end of the year, all that kind of stuff. But 2024 Topps Chrome Update Sapphire is big one's coming up here. It's going to be coming on the 10th of December. You'll see 4 cards per pack with 8 packs per box, 1 Sapphire exclusive autograph in those boxes. Pre-sale price on it, $350.
And we also have 2024-25 Upper Deck Artifacts Hockey. That is also coming up on December 11th. With that, you get 4 cards per pack and 8 packs per box. And you could look forward to 3 autograph memorabilia or tech inserts with that box, as well as 1 rookie redemption card. And the pre-sale price for that is pretty reasonable at $140.
December 11th, big day for a lot of these releases here. I think we've got 4 or 5 of them that are all coming out there, including Panini Black Football. One of those kind of higher end ones of 5 cards per pack with 1 pack per box, but loaded with some good stuff in there. You get 1 rookie patch autograph, 1 memorabilia card, and 1 other autograph in there among all that. Pre-sale price for Panini Black, $325.
And speaking of higher end, I think Drew is giving me all the higher end stuff here today.
Oh, yes.
It must think I have the big bucks coming, but 2024 Topps Definitive Baseball is also coming out on December 11th. There are 8 cards per pack and 1 pack per box. And with that, you get 6 autographs and 2 relics. And this is probably taking the prize for the most high-end product today. The pre-sale price for 2024 Topps Definitive Baseball is $2,400 for that 1 pack.
$300 a card right there, so you better hope you hit something big in there if you pick that one up for sure.
Exactly.
We got some first off the line stuff here from Panini. We usually don't mention first off the line here, but I know there's a lot of Prism collectors out there. We've got 2 Prism first off the line releases here that we'll be covering in this rundown here. But we have Panini Prism Draft Picks Football first off the line coming out on the 11th as well. In there, you're going to see 10 cards per pack with 4 packs per box. Among all that, 3 autographs, 12 prisms, 8 inserts, and 2 first-off-the-line exclusive prisms in every box there. I think all of those first-off-line prisms are numbered to 15 or less, including some one-of-one possibilities in there. So cool stuff there if you're a prism collector there. Some cool exclusives there. No info on pre-sale price, unfortunately. Steel City collectible or Steel City cards is completely sold out on that in pre-release, but check your local store, see if they have them in stock there, and see if they come up here on the secondary market online as well.
And coming up December 13th, we have 2023-24 Panini One-on-One Basketball. And with that, you get 2 cards per pack, and again, 1 pack per box, and 1 autograph per box on that. So there you go. And the pre-sold price, $1,100.
Oof. Another one that you better hope you hit a big one on for sure. You like some of the Leaf stuff? And if you're a Yankees fan, we've got Leaf Bronx Legacy Series 2 Baseball coming out on the 13th of December as well. Yankee-themed product. As when I was checking out, I saw some Babe Ruth stuff in there. But they've got 4 cards per pack, or excuse me, 4 cards per box, just a single box, no specific pack in there, it appears. But out of those 4 items, you can see 2 autographs in there. So being a Yankee-themed product, I bet you've got some kind of high-end big names in there. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Pre-sale price will run you $220.
And still on December 13th, we have 2024 National Treasures WWE. So there you get 10 cards per pack and 1 pack per box, and 8 autographs or memorabilia cards. That's a technical term. There. And the pre-sale price, $725.
If you're a fan of Kick in the Face contest, we got a UFC release here with 2024 Topps Gold Label UFC coming out on the 13th of December as well. 5 cards per pack, 7 packs per box going on there. In that box, you'll get 5 parallels, but also 2 autographs in there, too. Pre-sale price for some Topps Gold Label UFC, $165.
And we have 2024 Topps Paddock Pass F1. That's also coming out December 13th. So like we've been saying, kind of a big week coming up.
Yeah.
8 cards per pack and 16 packs per box there, with 3 numbered parallels, 4 refractors, and 11 inserts per box right there. And the pre-sale price there for the F1 is $150.
Got one more first off the line release here to mention as well. Panini Prism Baseball, first off the line, comes to us on the 12th of December. 12 is the magic number here. Not only does it come out on 12/12, but it has 12 cards per pack and 12 packs per box in there. This one's loaded up pretty nicely with 3 autographs in there, along with 12 inserts, 22 prisms, and 5 special first off the line prisms in there. And once again, unfortunately, I don't have a pre-sale price on here, as Steel City Collectibles or Steel City Cards has completely sold out on that one as well, it appears, on their pre-sale. So no price listed. But again, keep an eye out for it in your local card shop, online, anywhere like that to get a hold of some of those first off the line Panini Prism Baseball cards. Well, show news is fairly light right now, as we try to do all of our shows 2 weeks out, and that's putting us into the weekend before Christmas, and nobody in their right mind, I don't think, wants to host a card show the weekend before or during Christmas. They're probably going to be pretty light on those for next week, but we do have one that we do want to highlight here, and that is the Morris County Show if you're out in New Jersey on December 21st and 22nd. The Parsippany, New Jersey Police Athletic League is hosting this one at their facilities. Free admission for it as well, and they're going to have 3 signers out there. Josh Kuroda Grauer, recent draft pick of the Oakland, or soon-to-be Las Vegas, currently known as the No Location A's. They'll be out there signing. The New Jersey Devils' Paul Cotter is going to be there as well. And Rutgers men's basketball player Dylan Harper. Prices and info on those autographs can be found at MorrisCountyCardShow.com.
And
so, yeah,
real quick, Drew, just I know we're kind of short on card shows, but if you're looking for those last minute gifts, I know we did a show last week on that, but check out your local card shop if you're looking for something for your loved one, or even if you're stuffing your own stocking. Right. Go ahead and check out your local card shop. I'm sure they'd appreciate you stopping in and helping out your local community.
Absolutely. I completely agree on that. I've actually got to hit up mine here pretty soon and buy a couple of storage boxes and such for my upcoming trips and all that. So, yeah, if you don't have a show in your area, patronize the local shop. They always appreciate that. I mean, even if you do have a local show, go check out your local shop as well, too. Well, that about does it there for Baker's Dozen. Like I said, we had Clemente Lisi joining us, so let's go ahead and move on into Clemente's World.
You know what that means. It's time for Clemente's World.
We've got Clemente on here this week talking some hockey, some soccer, and more about that Canada Post strike that is kind of dominating the news among Canada to U.S., even Canada to Canada traders, TTMers, anybody like that. As we mentioned it briefly on the show last week, and I said, I know it's affecting packages, not sure if it's affecting all mail or not, and I did have a listener write in to say, yes, it is affecting all of the mail right now. So it is not just the packages. It is even just regular envelopes and everything. So if you're considering TTMing a Canadian, might want to hold off for a couple weeks, months, however long this whole strike takes to get resolved, because this, it's not going to be fun times there if you're going to try to mail anything up to there. So as I said, Clemente is joining us. Let's talk to Clemente Lisi. All right, well, we are here in Clemente's World, joined here by Clemente Lisi. Just a little chance to talk about all kinds of things around the world of hockey and soccer. It's definitely your areas of expertise that we've got you here for, Clemente, and always good to have you on board here to cover all of those.
Yeah, great to be back on.
Yeah. Well, first thing that's probably the biggest news that we talked about, we briefly touched on it during last week's show, and you being the hockey guy, it's good to get your perspectives on this, but Canada Post on strike right now. It's been going on for a couple of weeks now, apparently, as well. And unfortunately, because I said last week on the show that's like, I know it's affecting packages, not sure how it's affecting regular mail, but I did have a listener confirm that yes, it is affecting regular mail as well as affecting everything. So definitely makes it tough for those of us who enjoy doing some hockey card trading across the border there.
Yeah, when you remove Canada from the hockey card equation, then you pretty much 80% of your inventory is sort of not there. So yeah, there's no mail service within Canada. It's the holiday period, which obviously affects that. Now, if you're doing UPS or FedEx or some other service, you're fine. But Canada Post won't deliver. So if you're on eBay and you buy a card from a Canadian-based seller, that card will not come to you. If you want to ship to Canada now, the U.S. Postal Service actually said they will not be delivering to Canada because what's happening, I think, was that it was backed up at the warehouses and the Canadians would not pick up the mail on their end. So now the U.S. won't even mail your letter basically if you send to Canada. So we're in week 2 of this work stoppage. There's no end in sight. It might go into a week 3. But it really has crippled a lot of the trading and buying that goes on between the U.S. and Canada. And hockey, of all the major sports, really is impacted mostly by this. And I think hockey collectors are really feeling it now.
Yeah. Luckily, my one purchase on eBay from a Canadian seller was one close to the border. So he trotted across the border and sent it from Taylor, Michigan down to me. So it's like, all right, that worked out well. But yeah, definitely something to watch out for. And yeah, it kind of makes me think, okay, well, I'm going to have to hold off on these last 4 Canadian TTMs I was going to send out there as well. So apparently the same issues that are affecting Canada Post workers, though, are affecting a lot of American postal workers, too. So it's like, oh, God, is this going to lead to a U.S. strike then at some point as well? You just have to kind of watch and see if the dominoes fall toward that now as well, it seems.
Yeah, I don't recall ever in my lifetime a U.S. postal strike, but that would, you forget how much of the hobby, whether you're doing eBay, ComC, PSA, I mean, it doesn't matter. Whoever you're dealing with, it's mostly in the mail.
Yeah.
And so that does impact, and you forget Canada is a big part of the card market, and hockey predominantly. So I tell people, if you see a card you like on eBay and it's a Canadian seller, I wouldn't necessarily buy it because it may be stuck in limbo for who knows how long. And then even when things are back to normal, it's not going to be like all of a sudden this big rush of mail. Like it's going to take time. And so, look, you would think that the postal workers have some leverage because we're going to the holiday season. We're actually in the holiday season now, but that hasn't brought the sides to the table. Who knows? It may get resolved by the weekend, but there's no end in sight to it. And the first week, I think it pretty much went unnoticed by Americans. And by week 2, people were getting emails from eBay and from ComC and from PSA saying, look, there are going to be delays now. And I think now people are really starting to feel it. And eBay predominantly has been really the one up front on social media telling people, please just be aware that there are delays. And so for now, the hockey people have to deal with it, but hopefully it gets resolved soon and you can go back to buying and trading with our Canadian friends.
Yeah. Well, slightly more positive hockey news. We're at about the little past the 1/4 point here of the season, between that 1/4 to 1/3 point there, but probably a good time to start taking a look and see, okay, who are some of the big guys that have been, who's been helped in the hobby here by their season so far, who's been hindered by it, and what are some of the names you can think of that you'd want to point out as guys to watch out for, both on the good and the bad side?
Yeah, so let's go with the naughty or nice is kind of for the season now.
I like that.
Let's do the nice list. So, the nice list, some of the names are familiar. So Connor McDavid, had his 1,000 point, we're talking about here, Hall of Famer. Someone who is very expensive in the hobby. Someone who probably has been the best player in the last 10 years for sure since he entered the league. And the Oilers are a decent team. They're in playoff contention. It's still early. Yep. They got to the finals last year, as everyone knows. And, he is missing a cup, but his value is still holding, and he's a sure Hall of Famer. Whether or not he needs to win a cup to be put in the conversation with Gretzky and other players, we shall see. But for now, he's having a good season, setting records, and the Oilers are doing okay. They have the same old issues, which is goaltending. But in terms of firepower up front, they're fine. So McDavid is on the nice list with Sidney Crosby, who recently had his 600th goal. Now that belies the fact that his team is the Penguins are not doing so well, and as you know,
say the least. Yeah,
say the least. So Crosby is in a class by himself. Just this week, Billboard magazine named the greatest pop singer of the century. I know we're only 25 years in, and that person was Beyonce. Okay. And she beat Taylor Swift. Okay. Now that's controversial, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I see McDavid and Crosby sort of in that, you can pick which one's Taylor Swift and which one's Beyonce, but McDavid and Crosby are the two players that you can make the argument are the best player of this century so far.
Yeah.
And now Crosby is an amazing athlete, taking the baton from Lemieux, but it hasn't helped the Penguins because he's not surrounded by a good enough supporting cast. So the Penguins are probably not going to make the playoffs once again, barring some exceptional run after the All-Star break. But so it's not looking good. But Crosby's values extremely high. His personal records, they keep growing. And so that's for sure, someone worth investing in, for sure a Hall of Famer. But Penguins fans know may not be in the playoffs come spring.
Yeah.
The other name is someone that was a hot rookie a couple of years ago. He kind of had a bit of a sort of average season last year, and it's Kirill Kaprizov.
Okay.
He's now the top scorer of the league. He's got 38 points as it's recording. He's top scorer. So I think his card values are going up again. He kind of was forgotten last year because Bedard Mania pretty much replaced Kaprizov. Right now, people are going back to Kaprizov. So I think you'll see Kaprizov cards really go up. So if you have his cards, I'd hold on to them or maybe sell them. And, if they have a great season, the Wild, and he ends up with the most points, then those values will go up again. So Kaprizov is someone that if you forgot about him, he's back strong. Okay, so those are the three nice lists. The naughty list, I hate to tell people, is Connor Bedard. He's having, I think, what we might call a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
He's only had 5 goals this year in 25 games. The Blackhawks are once again basement dwellers. Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot of minutes, but he's not putting up the points. He only has 19 points. Now, oddly enough, his card values are not going down. People are still high on Bedard, which is both interesting and annoying at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking to get a deal on Bedard, it's not going to happen. His Young Guns card is still between $350 and $500, and any Bedard insert or any rookie year card, which are still coming out, sets are still coming out, are still high numbered, high valued, high prices, particularly in the Chicago market, but all over the continent, really, all over North America. So he's having not a great start to the season, but it doesn't seem to matter. People still want him because of the hype that's still there. It's not as bad as a year ago, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the interesting cases where a player could be performing badly and the cards are not going down. So that's sort of interesting. So we'll see what happens with him. Now, if he has a really bad season, then by the end of the season, his cards values may be affected.
Yeah. I think, being the number one pick in the draft so recently, that is always going to be on people's minds until he hits the point of like a Patrick Stephon level or something like that. And hopefully he doesn't get to that point. But no matter what, that number one pick, that is always going to be right there at the forefront of people's minds. And he's going to get every benefit of the doubt, I think, until proven otherwise.
And not only that, he was number one pick, but he also won Rookie of the Year. He won
That's true. Yes.
So that's validation. But having said that, there's past Calder winners that I'm sure we can name who are like, oh yeah, he won the Calder. What happened?
Yep.
Right. So from 2 years ago's number one pick to this year's number one pick, Connor Celebrini, Macklin Celebrini, I'm sorry. He's only at 14 points in 15 games. He was injured for a hip injury. He missed a few games. Again, he's first year in the league. He's not as highly touted as Bedard was, and he plays for the San Jose Sharks. Once again, the worst team in the league.
Right.
And it's going to take a little bit more time to rebuild this team. I thought maybe they had the pieces this year because they've had a couple of high draft picks the last few years. It's not there yet. And unfortunately, it's starting to show. And you can be a great player on a pretty lousy team, and it still won't matter. And in this case, unlike Bedard last year, I thought maybe he would have put up more points, but he hasn't really been able to. And so I think his team is hindering him. So Macklin Celebrini, not as hyped and touted as Bedard, but he's also not putting up the numbers that maybe I was hoping in a number one pick.
Right.
And so he's sort of a wait and see still. And then the other player who came into the league, I think, with a lot of hype, and he was on everyone's top 10 list, was Lane Hudson of the Montreal Canadiens. He's at 15 points, no goals this year. So just a lot of assists. He plays for the Canadiens, and we know they're also basement dwellers. Really a bad start to the season. They're probably going to have another one of these kind of rebuild years. And so the Canadiens having a bad year, and it's reflecting on him. Now, his prices were high early in the season when his Young Guns card came out in October, and now you're starting to see it level off because he's not scoring goals.
Right.
And so, now he can change that up in the next couple of weeks and months. But again, he's playing on a team that is not going to make the playoffs and probably not going to be able to move the needle on his values. And so a lot of those Lane Hudson Young Guns card that were going for about $30 to $40, they may end up in the dollar bin in 6 months from now if he doesn't put up more points. So these are the three at the quarter mark. And it'd be interesting to talk about when we get to the halfway mark, which teams and players are doing well. Now, in terms of overall teams, they're doing well. I mean, the Maple Leafs are doing well.
Yep.
And the Florida Panthers are doing well. And so teams like that are doing well. The Winnipeg Jets, some of the teams that we thought would do well. It's still so early in the regular season to know. But in terms of individual players and card values, these are the 6 that I think you need to look at in terms of the high end and the low end. And look, the great thing about the naughty list, 2 of them are rookies, and we're here to speculate on rookies anyway. I mean, rookies are totally speculative, and it may turn out the Calder winner somebody nobody expected.
Yep.
Come June. So that's part of the fun of speculating on rookies. Now, if you like a sure thing and you have more money, well, then you can shop in the McDavid Crosby section of the card store and the card and the show, and then that way you can go bet in a sure thing. McDavid and Crosby are a sure thing.
And going back to what you said there about some of the teams not starting off so well that could still get in the playoffs, just think over the last few years, how many 8-1 and 7-2 upsets have we seen in the playoffs the last few years? So yeah, you may be looking like you're out of it now, and then you could end up having a heck of a run there, like Panthers over the Bruins a couple of years ago.
You got to sneak in. I mean, that's the thing. You got to sneak in. And so much of the regular season, not just in hockey, but in Major League Soccer and in the NBA, has been rendered kind of a moot thing. As long as you get into the playoffs and you get hot in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter. I agree. And so, so it's kind of hard to really watch games now and really try to think long term. I mean, it's sort of hard to think, but you want to create streaks. Yeah. The Rangers right now are in a bit of a slump after a strong start, and that may impact you over the course of the long haul. But of course, you want to end the season strong, and then you want to be hot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, how that kind of works out, it sort of ebbs and flows. There's no way to control that, and so a team with a lot of talent, with a lot of experience, can try to sort of force that.
Yeah.
But a lot of these younger teams, I'm thinking like the Blackhawks or even the Sharks, that will be hard for them to get that 8th spot, I think, because they're just so bad. I mean, they have single-digit wins. I mean, this is a pretty bad start. And so now we're not totally surprised, and I'm curious to see how the fan bases, particularly in Chicago and San Jose, how many years are they willing to deal with rebuild before they can say, okay, we're a playoff contender or we're a cup contender. So we'll see. But clearly having Bedard on the team is not enough, and we shall see how much more time it takes. And Sal Barrick is a big Blackhawks fan. He'd be someone to talk to about how patient is he, in terms of getting there. I mean, you're a Penguins fan, so some of the heartaches of the highs and the lows that go with a franchise that has won so much, but then has had some awful years too.
Yes. And the Blackhawks have drawn well through some lean years there at points. I mean, they went from the early 60s until the early 2010s without winning a cup there, and still seem to draw pretty well comparatively. And then again, there were some years where I think I remember seeing under 9,000 fans a game there too. So it definitely has an ebb and flow to it for sure.
Yeah, original 6 teams tend to be in markets that are very hockey friendly, obviously, and they have a lot of history. So they tend to have, that's the difference between a Blackhawks and a Sharks, I'd say, which are a 30-year franchise. So that's a big difference. But interesting. But yes, I mean, the Rangers have had some bad years too.
True.
But it's New York, and the Garden usually sells out, and there's a lot of hype around the Rangers, whether they win or lose, because there's a big fan base built in. That's why.
Let's take a look at some soccer stuff here. We've got some news that just came out today. The Soccer Hall of Fame has announced the members of the class of 2025. And just looking this over, the big one, of course, obviously right off the top, Carly Lloyd, who is one of the legends of the U.S. women's team there. And probably the one that anybody who looked at the list could say, okay, that is the one that's definitely getting in. And absolutely, she's one of the big five on the list there.
Yeah, she got in on her first year of eligibility. I mean, everyone knows her from the winning teams of the last decade, the U.S. teams. She scored that brilliant goal from 50 yards against Japan in the 2015 World Cup final. I mean, she other than Megan Rapinoe, I would say that Carly Lloyd was the face of that team.
Yeah,
for many years. New Jersey born and bred, and she's a great TTMer. I got her a couple of years back. So she recently had a baby. She does some broadcast work for Fox. So she does respond to mail. She does respond to cards, to autographs. So if you look at the TTMer, send her congratulations, for making the Hall of Fame. I think she'd be more than happy to oblige with signing your card. So she's definitely somebody worth chasing after for sure. And just in general, U.S. players, both current and retired, men and women, are both pretty good about TTM. I mean, some of them less so than others, but in general, soccer is a really great sport at TTM because the fans, it's still considered a pretty small fan group in the U.S. compared to the other major sports.
Yeah.
But I think that the players see themselves as ambassadors of the game. And so they tend to be much more friendlier. I mean, I think hockey was this way a few decades ago.
Yeah.
And for sure, soccer supplanted that in terms of the relationship between the fans and the players.
Yes. Take a look at the rest of the list here. What do you know about what's out there in terms of cards on some of these people? I know Mary Harvey was a member of, I believe, the 1991 Women's World Cup winning team, the first one for the U.S., and a couple players from the men's side there with Chris Armas and goalie Nick Raimondo, both named in there. And I believe it's an MLS deputy commissioner or something like that. Mark Abbott got on there as well. But what kind of stuff is out there that, for collectibles among those people? And what's out there on them essentially?
Us for many years have Topps MLS cards out there. So it's definitely worth mailing to them if you're interested. I mean, they have Topps cards for sure. Because Topps has been making MLS sets since the early 2000s. Mary Harvey, she's one of the pioneers of the U.S. women's game and won the World Cup in 91. If you're old enough to remember and were paying attention enough, that 91 team that won the Women's World Cup, that was under the radar.
Yes.
Unlike 99, where everyone saw it. In 91, you really had to be a fan to know that they had won it. I think Mary Harvey may actually have a card in the 1994 Upper Deck World Cup set. There are some cards in there they made up the women's players, including Mia Hamm's rookie card was in that set. So she may have a card in there. It's worth taking a look. Some of the earlier players obviously don't have cards. And in soccer in general, a lot of the players that played in the 80s and 90s may have stickers and not cards. So it's maybe worth also looking on trading card database to see whether or not some of these players have stickers or cards. And look, these are really cheap cards to buy, whether you want to buy them on on eBay or somewhere else at a card show, whatever, and then you mail them out to them. I think all these Hall of Famers are worth trying TTM, I think.
Yes.
Because I think they probably will respond to your letter.
Yeah. May 3rd is going to be the induction date. Any chance we're going to see you down at the Soccer Hall of Fame for that one?
I've never been to the Soccer Hall of Fame, and I want to go. And I know it's in your neck of the woods.
Right.
So if I ever do make it down there, we definitely could hang out and get dinner. And, and I don't even know if the Hall of Fame is a graphing opportunity for fans. I don't even know that. It may be, So, you never say never. Maybe come May, maybe we'll be there. You never know. But I've never been to the Hall of Fame. They moved, I would say, the Dallas-Fort Worth area about maybe 12, 13 years ago, something like that. And it's state-of-the-art. It's a super nice Hall of Fame. The original Hall of Fame was in Oneonta, New York, in a very bizarre location, not far from Cooperstown, but a very bizarre location for soccer. And so, I definitely, it's definitely on my bucket list for my sports bucket list for sure. And if not this year, at some point in my life, I do want to go to it because I hear great things about it.
Yeah. I think there may be some graphic opportunities. I'll have to check in with Dave Slipka and Brian Gutman and see what they know there. But I know they were talking a couple of years ago when Steve Jungle got put in. They're saying, oh, hey, maybe he'll show up here. We can, because we're all indoor soccer collectors as well as those guys do MLS as well. But we're thinking, oh, great, get to hopefully get that. Maybe we'll pull in some other guys that we need in there and everything for his induction. And I don't think Jungle even came to it at all. He's lived a very private life since his retirement. So
yeah. So I don't have Steve Zungul coming up in our conversation on my bingo card, but yeah, he lives a pretty reclusive life.
Yeah.
I do think he may be a TTMer. I know some people have, most people have not. So I know you've gotten them, but I could never get him, even though I've tried. So yeah. So some players are just like, he's particularly reclusive. The great thing about, the MISL is that I've interviewed many of these players in the past, and I'm a Facebook friends with a lot of them.
Yes.
So, so it's interesting how some of them are literally your Facebook friends, and then some of them, are reclusive. So you just don't know. But, yeah, when he got inducted, it was one of those like, oh, not only inducting an indoor player, which is unusual, but it was great because I do think that the indoor game is often forgotten by the American soccer community, and we forget that in the 1980s, the indoor game was really the only game in town. There was nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's really important to really focus on that. And I'm glad the Hall of Fame did induct him a few years back, and hopefully in the future there'll be more players. I think the most famous probably indoor player other than Steve Zungul would be Preki, because he had a great indoor and outdoor career.
Yes.
And so and these are all players worth trying TTM because I think they're American soccer legends, but they're also pretty responsive, which is great.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can find the entire sets of those Pacific cards from late 80s to early 90s for, $5-10 a set at most. So easy to get too.
Well, those are the only junk wax era cards that had never gone up in value, I think. But that's for us because I do love to pick those up and mail those out. And I've mailed many of those over the years. And, they're always fun and very nostalgic.
Yeah. A little bit of soccer card news here. We've got the MLS Topps Chrome set just came out this past week. Have you got a chance to check that out yet at all? We did a little preview of it there with its release, but haven't dug too deeply into it yet at all.
Yeah, so like kind of like the baseball Chrome set, it's the same as the paper,
right?
But it comes out on Friday. I think the price point's about $130. It comes out at a really good time because the MLS Cup final is a Saturday.
Yes.
So now Topps and the leagues don't coordinate that. I think it's a big coincidence. But I do think it's great timing because there's a lot of hype around the final between the Red Bulls and the Galaxy, but also the fact that I still think that if you're going to speculate on American players, on rookies, that MLS cards are great to speculate on. Now, of course, I prefer the paper for TTMing over the Chrome, obviously, because Chrome has all kinds of issues. But if you like autographs, each box I think comes with 2 autographs, which is great. I mean, considering some sets you don't even get 1 anymore. You get 1 or a premium card. So here you get 2. It's a 200 card base set, and it's got legends and rookies and starter players, and a lot of great inserts and prism parallels and that kind of thing. I haven't seen the cards in hand because they're not out yet, but it is on my Christmas list as a present for myself at this point. So I do think it's definitely worth checking out. And look, everyone's chasing the same thing here. Can I get a Messi autograph? That kind of thing. That's what everyone's chasing. Now, someone's going to get that, but there's so many great players in this league beyond Messi. I mean, I think that everyone knows Messi, obviously.
Yeah.
And I should point out there's no shortage of Messi autographs in the world. I mean, I own a few. He signs a lot, whether he's signing cards or shirts or whatever. I mean, so a Messi autograph is still awesome, but it's not rare,
right?
And there was a controversy a couple of years ago about whether or not some of the older cards with autograph, whether he actually signed them himself or was it his brother. So there's also that controversy. But I'm assuming because Messi is stateside, that getting his autograph on card is a lot easier now than it was when he was with Barcelona. So
right.
And I do think that some of the autographs are on card. So that's worth, and that's become a big thing too. So definitely a set worth checking out. The price point's good, and people love Chrome. The design is beautiful, and definitely worth speculating on some rookies and some and getting star players and inserts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So as you said, MLS Cup taking place on Saturday, and yet another LA versus New York matchup in this one there. But who are some of the big players to watch out for in terms of just, guys you might see having a good game out there, guys who might have a big splash in the collectibles world, anything like that from either of those two teams?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a rematch between the Dodgers and the Yankees. We're getting the soccer version of that. Now, we should point that out. The Red Bulls, speaking of I think 9 teams that make, or 10 teams with the play-in. So, 7th seed is not supposed to get to the final. So they're there at the final, So, and I think the Galaxy are number 2 seed. So clearly, and the Galaxy are playing at home as a result of having the better seed. So MLS Cup final is 1 game. Okay. So 1 game like the Super Bowl. So you don't get a chance to, it's all not home and away, that kind of thing. So you have to win or go to extra time or go to penalties, that kind of thing. Right. So the Red Bulls and the Galaxy have some interesting players. Everyone thought that Miami might get to the final because they had the best regular season record. But you know what? As you know, in American sports, having the best record in the regular season doesn't mean anything, so that doesn't, all the people that were sort of fair weather fans or Messi fans were very disappointed. I think the league was disappointed, honestly.
Yeah.
Because of that. So let's go first with the Red Bulls, because I find the fact that they were able to win every game literally on the road before they got to the final is pretty amazing. And, I've been to many Red Bulls games. They're sort of in my backyard. Including knocking off NYCFC along the way. So who do they have on their team? They have a couple of good young players that I think may actually end up in Europe one day, or they may end up on the national team. One of them is left back John Tolkien. He's played for the U.S. a little bit. And he's the kind of guy that I think could end up in Europe. You forget that Red Bull owns not just Red Bull New York, but they have Red Bull Salzburg and Leipzig and Germany. So a lot of these players, they are very talented. They end up playing there. And so you can pick up his rookie card, I think, from 2 years ago. You can get the Topps card. Same with Daniel Edelman of the Red Bulls. He's a midfielder, very quick. He's on the U.S. under-20 team. I think he played at the Olympics. He could end up on the national team at the World Cup in 2 years. Also kind of player that could end up in Europe at some point, like so many other Americans. Don't forget, Tyler Adams was a former Red Bull player who ended up in Europe and then was the captain of the U.S. team at the World Cup in Qatar. Yeah. So Daniel Edelman, another player that I think could break through. If they win the cup, I think these 2 guys could end up in Europe next year even. And so and Daniel Edelman's rookie card was last year, so you can find it. And I TTM'd him last summer and got him. So he's only 20 years old. I think he still lives with his mom and dad in New Jersey. So he actually wrote me back a letter, which was so cool. And so you kind of save that stuff because you just never know what's going to happen one day, right? Yeah. So those are the 2 I would pick from the Red Bulls. The Galaxy, interestingly enough, their key player got hurt in the Western Conference final, a guy named Ricky Puig, and he was actually a Barcelona youth, I don't want to say reject, but a player that was in the Barcelona youth system. And Barcelona produces young players like, I don't know, like the Middle East produces oil. They just have players, right? So he didn't quite make the cut at Barcelona, ends up here, and is a big star in MLS. And but he tore his ACL, so he won't be in the final. He's had a great playoff. I think he had 4 goals and 5 assists in the playoff. So, it's a shame that we'll miss him. Because I think he would have given the Galaxy a much better chance to winning, but also he's one of these players that, I think has a rookie card the last couple of years in the Topps MLS set. So you can go and find it. And now whether the Galaxy wins the cup or not, that card might go up or down, but he won't be in the final itself. So I would, so you can look at him and, he won't be in the game, but he's worth, definitely checking out. And then the other player to look for is a player that a lot of people may actually know, which is a German veteran midfielder named Marco Reus. Yes. So Reus. He came to MLS Like so many of these aging European players come to MLS, and you can go back and probably find his rookie card somewhere in a European set or a sticker even. Now, winning MLS isn't going to make his career, but it will make him, foreign players who do well in America kind of become legendary to us Americans. And so should they win the cup and should Royce have a great game, and this is a German national team, former national team player. So this is a big name. Should they win the cup off of the heels of a player that has a good game, that may renew interest in him. But at the very least, he'll never have to buy a drink in LA ever again. Kind of like Pele, did, and Giorgio Chinaglia and all these star players. This podcast episode, we're really digging up the bodies here in terms of the 1970s and 80s soccer players. But like Carlos Alberto. I mean, I can go on and on, right? But so I would look at him as well. And so it's kind of interesting. I think the Galaxy are kind of an older, more established, more winning team, and they've won 5 MLS Cups. The last mini dynasty they created was about 15 years ago, and they had Landon Donovan and David Beckham and those guys. On the other half, the other side of the field, you have the Red Bulls, had never won MLS Cup in 25 plus years. Some people think they're a cursed franchise, kind of like the Cubs were. So it remains to be seen if they can snap that curse. Can they win it all? It'll be fun to watch. But 4:00 Eastern time Saturday, nice MLS Cup final in LA versus New York.
Perfect. I'll be trying to check that out for sure. So hopefully get a good game out of that one. So real quick, before we've got about 5 minutes left before the recording is going to cut us off here. But any fun pickups you've had here recently for the collection at all?
I've had no fun pickups because I did all my pickups at the Expo recently. Oh, yeah. So I did send out a bunch of TTMs sort of around October, November. I got into this whole thing because of the World Series. I got into sending to these vintage baseball guys.
Oh yeah.
Sent a bunch out, not superstars, but guys I just didn't have who I know have been signing a lot recently. And I thought, some of these guys from the 60s and 70s, they're getting older.
Yes.
So I mailed a bunch out. And so I think by the next time we have our call, I'll probably have some of those returns. And I always find that getting returns in December is hard because the mail is just so busy.
Yes.
And so they're out there. Hopefully these guys will start sending back, and then I'll have a few TTM pickups. But I did a bunch in November, just knowing that I wanted to get it done before the year was over.
Right.
I will say I've been pretty bad this year about sending out. I feel like with the last couple of years, every year, it just gets tougher and tougher to find the time to write the letters. And also, I'm not thrilled about the price of stamps. They seem to go up all the time. So that's sort of my thing.
I'm kind of hit the same point right now, too. I've got...
I bought a bunch of stamps recently, and hopefully we'll get some.
Yeah. I've kind of hit the same thing recently. I've got a stack of envelopes right here, actually. I just need to write them and stamp them and everything, but I've got a roll of stamps. I've got 50 envelopes with the names and addresses on them, at least, my name and address on them. I got to figure out who I'm going to send to first, but I had a goal of 300 for the year. I'm not going to hit that, but I can at least hit 250 if I really put the pen to the paper here in the last month or so. So I'm about the same spot you are there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something I used to tell Jeff all the time on the show, which is, I wait for your returns. If you get somebody that I'm like, oh, that's a good, I'm gonna mail that one,
Yeah.
So when you guys go dry, that doesn't help me at all. So, so I'm always kind of like, oh, they got this guy, which is interesting. So yeah, I would definitely. So yeah, Drew, get going on that so you can help me out. At least, so your December will be my January. Potentially. So.
Well, hey, like I said, I've gotten a few hockey ones back at least lately, so hopefully that gives you a few ideas in there. So, yeah. Any other thoughts here before we call into this one here for the month?
No, this is a good one. That when you're able to take the time machine and go back to the MISL or NASL.
Oh yeah,
a conversation I started talking about hockey, and we end up with soccer. That's a good day for me. So.
Exactly. Well, there you go. Once again, that is Clemente Lisi joining us here in Clemente's World. Well, big thanks once again to Clemente Lisi joining us in Clemente's World as he does once a month. We'll have him back on, of course, in early January as well. Right now, let's go ahead and move on into Making the Grade.
Making the Grade is sponsored by CGC Cards. All card grading, all in one place. Certified Guarantee Company, CGC. devoted to the expert grading of collectible cards. Visit cgccards.com today.
Making the Grade summarizes all things going on in the grading world, and we've got some news here with numbers from the previous month here, as opposed to our usual weekly numbers. So, Troy, give us a rundown on what we got here from those big four companies.
Yeah, it's always kind of fun, the first show of the month, to take a look at these. So here we go for November. PSA graded 1.26, and this is why I like this, million cards, which was actually down 13% from October. CGC, 218K, which was up 5%. SGC, 129K, which was down 22%. And Beckett, 34K, which was down 32%. So in total, the big four there graded about 1.65 million cards, again with PSA taking a good percentage of that at 1.26 million.
Yeah, keeping them busy right there. Wow, it's anytime I see the million number on there, it's just like, my God, this is how is this possible? And well, yeah, then you go to a card show and you see table after table of slabs, and it's like, that's how it's possible. So yeah,
that's a lot of plastic there.
Well, there you go. There's everything from November from them. So let's take a look at some individual players now as we move on into the Big Three.
This week's Big Three is brought to you by gemrate.com. Whose cards are hot and whose cards are cold this week? Let's find out from our friends at gemrate.com.
The Big Three is an exclusive number to TTM Cast, provided to us from gemrate.com, who also provide us all those monthly numbers we just mentioned a moment ago. You can check them out at gemrate.com and on all social media at gemrate. The Big Three takes a look at some individual players to see who is trending upward and downward in the grading world. Big winners for this week. Drake May, New England Patriots quarterback, is up 38% on his numbers here in grading here this week. Number 2 on the list, one of my favorites, Sidney Crosby, up 38% as well. And coming in third, Malik Neighbors, 36% increase on his card grading too. Crosby was the individual card big winner for the week. His 2005-2006 Upper Deck Rookie Class box set card, which I love pointing this out because this is one of the few times when a card comes up as the ones mentioned here that I actually have in my collection. So glad to see that. Their mine is not graded, however, it is autographed. But it saw a major spike this week. Typically 10 or fewer of this card are graded in the average week. Somehow this week we saw 150 copies of it slabbed. So that rookie class card is one pushing up the list there into that nice 38% increase there. So always cool to see that. Always happy to see a card that I own actually on that in this spot here during a week. And meanwhile, on the other side, Troy, who do we have that's falling down the list a bit?
Yeah, we have a few that are falling this past week. We have Puka Nacua, who is down 51%. Wyatt Langford, who is down 52%. And following the 1% decrement there, we have Amen Thompson, who was down 53%. So kind of big falling, all above 50% this week.
Just that's a little holiday effect in there with those kind of big numbers there on each of those. But representation of all four major sports there across the risers and fallers there too. So interested to see that as well. Sometimes we get some weeks where it's, 3 football guys all dropping off or something like that. So, well, once again, a big thanks to gemrate.com for providing us with these numbers. Once again, the Big Three is exclusive to TTM Cast. But if you're a numbers geek like I am, GemRate is the place to go for any of that stuff relating to grading. You can follow them on Twitter. You can follow them on Instagram. It is GemRate on both of those. The website gets even more deeply into the numbers there at gemrate.com. Well, that about does it for the Big Three here and for making the grade. Let's move on into our stamp of approval.
I bet you're wondering who earned this week's TTM Cast stamp of approval.
Well, TTM Cast stamp of approval just gives us a chance to say, hey, look at us. We're not just a bunch of sports and collectibles geeks, even though, let's be honest, we kind of are still. I mean, we've definitely had stamp approvals that still relate to all that stuff, but we get a little bit off the beaten path in this area sometimes. I might, have some food, music, movies, anything like that in there to mention. So Yeah, mine is food related this week, and I was actually going to mention it last week before the North Melbourne women took the premiership of the AFLW. So I'm giving my TTM cast stamp approval to something my wife found for me. She got it for me for Christmas, and then she's like, "Okay, no, you're gonna make use of this well before Christmas. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it to you now." So it kind of worked as early anniversary present as well, because today's actually our 17th wedding anniversary as well. So
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, fun times there, and no big plans. All we were talking about, okay, do we want to go out to dinner? And it's like, AT&T Stadium is going to be packed with people, and that's going to cause traffic havoc all over Arlington. So no, let's not.
Now, Drew, after all of these food things that you have said in your stamp of approval, you're not going to go out to dinner.
Probably not. That's the biggest irony of this whole thing, but I will probably make use, though, of the thing that I'm getting my stamp approval for, and that is the ice cream pint koozie.
Oh my God.
So, of course, there are canned koozies out there. There are bottle koozies out there. Keep your drinks cold as you drink them, and it blocks the heat of your hand from warming up whatever you're drinking. Well, as one who is known to eat a few pints of ice cream every now and then, understatement of the year, I have that same problem, especially in the summer, when it's 100 degrees outside. It's still 80 degrees in my apartment. The moment I take that pint out of the freezer, it starts melting literally the moment I pull it out there. So this has a little handle on the side. So not only is the pint protected from my hand if I hold it directly, I don't even have to hold it at all. I can keep it off the side there, so it keeps it even colder here with this whole thermal thing going on around it. I have tested it once so far, and yeah, it works. It works surprisingly well. I mean, I get down to the bottom of a pint, and it is still rock solid down there. So if you have the problems that I do, and you get the last couple bites there as just straight liquid in your ice cream pint, fear not. There is something you can do about it now. She found it there was an ad, I believe, from Bluebell on Facebook.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, that's interesting. Let me see, do they have it anywhere else? And yeah, there's a couple sellers on like Etsy and Amazon and all those that make them and sell them. So if you don't want to, slap a corporate logo on it there and buy it from Bluebell, you can get ones that have all sorts of different things. Like this one's got dinosaurs all over it. This one's got some kind of space stuff all on it. So they got a whole bunch of different options. I bet they might have some sports-related ones if you look around a bit. Somebody's got to be doing something like that. So go check those out. The Ice Cream Pint Koozie is my TTM Cast stamp of approval for this week.
I think they need to combine that with those people that put your face on your socks, and that way you could get a koozie with your cat's face or your face on it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, during COVID, I had a mask that had my late cat Sydney's face on it. So, yes, I bet they could do that, too. So keep an eye out for that, too. Rep your sports team, rep your company, rep yourself even if you want to with it, with your own ice cream pint koozie. Troy, what do you got for your stamp approval this week, if you got something?
Well, I have another YouTube find. I've kind of told you about some of my binge watching that I do online, and it's kind of wavered a bit, but I found, and I don't think I mentioned this yet, I found a video podcasts for old shows are kind of the new thing to do. You have two guys from Enterprise doing a podcast. You have Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica doing the podcast. You have Michael from Smallville doing a video podcast, or two or three, or so. All these older shows are kind of doing video podcasts. And there was a show. Many people know that I worked on Babylon 5 behind the scenes, but there was actually another show that I got my SAG card on by being an extra 3 times. And that was Seventh Heaven back in the day. Yeah. And I was one of the teachers that are in the hallway scenes in the school. And they called that ER style because if you watch it, it looks just behind the scenes thing. If you watch it, it looks like the ER hallways when they're going down the hallway and people are going back and forth and across, and the school scenes were modeled after the ER type of a scene. Anyway, so I was on that show 3 times, got cut out of 2 of them. So don't try looking for me. But David Gallagher, who played Simon, Beverly Mitchell, who played Lucy, and Mackenzie Rosman, who played Ruthie, started up this video podcast called Catching Up with the Camdens.
Oh, cool.
And I've been binge watching that this last week, and it is so much fun. They've brought on Barry Watson, who was on the show, as well as Catherine Hicks, who I was a fan of from Star Trek 4 before Seventh Heaven. But it's just a really fun show, and they kind of do the whole rewatch thing and just kind of interview guest stars and stuff like that. So that, I know that may not be the cup of tea for a lot of our videos, but it's just kind of fun. And if you want to expand that, just kind of saying video podcasts of past TV show stars are kind of my stamp of approval. They're really fun. If you could probably find your favorite show from the 90s probably has a podcast, a video podcast out there.
Nice. There you go. Definitely. Yeah. Check those out. And like you said, yeah, I mean, if there may be tons that I haven't even thought of that might have them out there of any shows that I used to watch. So I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper into those, I think, possibly, and see what I can find. So I've actually been watching a bunch of old Browns games here this past weekend. I'm back on while I've been working. So I've been kind of down the old TV YouTube rabbit hole there a bit as well, and revisiting some truly terrible moments in Browns history mostly. So hopefully you guys all find something better than that brings back better memories rather than traumatic ones.
And they help get cats out of your YouTube feed. So there you go.
There you go. So there you go. Great stamp approval once again there as we move on now to the Vern Rapp Minutes. The Vern Rapp Minute is dedicated to the memory of Mr. Vern Rapp, former Major League ball player and manager, and our show's founder, Jeff Baker, tried mailing off to him for an autograph and did not know that he had already passed away. And so we provide the Vern Rapp Minute in his honor and as a service to all the collectors out there to let you know who has passed away in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics, anybody that you might consider TTMing. We try to let you know if they have passed away, just so that you don't make the same mistakes that we have made in mailing somebody who is no longer with us. Baseball here to start things off as we lost Bill Melton, former third baseman, outfielder, and first baseman for several seasons from, I think I got my numbers wrong on here, 1966, I believe, to 1971. I have it written down as 1986 to 71. I don't think he had a time machine to go backwards in his career there. So, but 66 to 71, he played for the White Sox, the Angels, and the Indians. In 1971, he led the American League in home runs with 33. Later, he was a broadcaster for the White Sox for many years, I think up until into the 2010s. Bill was an excellent TTMer. He was 79 years old.
And we also lost Al Fitzmaurice. He was a pitcher from 1969 to 78 for the Royals, the Indians, and the Angels. He had a 77-59 career record with a 3.65 ERA. And he was an excellent TTMer over the years. So, again, we lost Al Fitzmaurice. He was 78 years old.
We lost Don Ohl this week in the basketball world. Don was a shooting guard from 1960 to 1970. Played for Detroit, the Baltimore Bullets, and the St. Louis and Atlanta Hawks. He was a 5-time All-Star across that time, 15.9 point per game average in his career. Don was an excellent TTMer. He was 88 years old.
And we also lost Lou Carnesecca. He was 24 years as St. John's head coach. So pretty huge career right there. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1992 and was the coach of the year in 1983 and 1985. So pretty good. Wow. I watched a few of the memorial videos on YouTube and again on YouTube. and just some really, really great highlights and touched the lives of a lot of people there. He was an excellent TTMer throughout his career, including recently. Again, Lou Carnesecca was 99 years old.
From the sidelines of the NFL world, we lost Dale Hamer. Dale was a headlinesman and referee from 1978 through 2001. He actually served 2 Super Bowls as its headlinesman, position now known as line judge among the NFL officials. Unfortunately, I don't think he was one of the ones who was in the 1991 Pro set when they decided to put a few officials in there. So, unfortunately, didn't get any representation in there. But despite not having an official card like that, he was an excellent TTMer across the years. Dale Hamer was 87 years old. Well, if you've lost anyone this week in your life, our thoughts are certainly with you as we move on to our TTM returns.
Was our mailbox full this week? Let's take a look at this week's TTM returns.
Well, as I said in the show's opening, it's definitely been a better week this week in both of our mailboxes. As last week, we had the double shutout there, which I will say, having a day with no delivery there on Thursday being Thanksgiving definitely kind of slows things down. And usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays are kind of slower on mail anyway. So that's, 3 days you're knocking out right there. So fortunately this week looking a little bit better. We both at least got something in our mailbox this week autograph related. So for me, it was 2 football and 1 hockey as I got Willie Rofe, Football Hall of Famer, back. He was a good signer for a long time and then suddenly stopped for a while. It's like, oh, okay, well, that sucks. I was hoping to get him, but I got a message one day from a high school friend of mine who is occasionally a TTMer as well. My friend Jake, and he says, hey, yeah, Willie Rofe is signing. I'm going to be mailing out to him. I'm like, really? All right, let's look this up. And yeah, it's because I guess he moved from, I think he's in Florida now, and I think he may have been in Georgia before or something like that, but he moved, so I'm sure that had a little bit to do with it, as, having an address change that nobody had looked up or anything like that. So found it, though, mailed off to him, and got him back I think it was about a 1 month turnaround approximately on that, maybe 2 months or so, but sent his 1993 Topps rookie card off to him, as I'd had that in my collection here for quite a while. I didn't know it was his rookie card either until I looked. I'm like, this might be, and I look, I'm like, yeah, it actually was. So got that one back here with the Hall of Fame inscription on it there as well. So another one to add into the Hall of Fame rookie card collection. I also got back Brad Muster from the world of football as well. He was a fullback for the Bears and Saints, I believe, among maybe a couple other teams in there. But I played there in the late 80s into the mid 90s or so, and sent him 4 cards. He signed them all personalized to Drew on each of those as well. So certainly happy to add those in as well as, that's my wheelhouse right there, is anything from like about 89 to 91. I had a friend of mine saying, hey, yeah, if you got any football cards that my nephew can send out. I'm like, dude, give me a list of anybody 89 to 91 who signs. I can definitely set him up with some cards there to send out. So I'll hopefully be sorting through those a bit later on this weekend. And the last one I have is a hockey one. And this is from Joe Dziedzik, D-Z-I-E-D-Z-I-C. So nice rare DZ letter combo in there twice in that name. But former member of the Cleveland Lumberjacks that I grew up watching there in the 90s in Ohio in the old IHL, former Pittsburgh Penguin for a few years. Signed all 4 cards that I sent, and his sister was actually had something high up in the Minnesota government. I think like a state senator or state house member or something like that. So government career, political career for her, and a hockey career for him. He's involved in coaching now there in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Those are the 3 that I got in. It's taking about maybe 2 weeks or so to come back to me. Troy, what do you got on your side of things here?
Well, I have a single return, so just one, but it is one of my infamous 1991 Don Russes, but I actually have a better card that is signed in blue. But here you go. Mike Fitzgerald, 1991 Don Ross, and the big thing on this one, 1,913 days. So the envelope was actually sent to my previous address and had the yellow sticker on it, and my forwarding had expired, even though I extended it twice. Okay. And something was written on it like hand sort or hand process or whatever. And being a small town, they knew where I was. It's literally just down the street from the other place, and it made it to me. So 1,913 days for Mike Fitzgerald. I kind of wish I had a PO box in North Hollywood, and I had it for. They sent it to me like every 6 months, the mail. But eventually I did say, I don't want to pay this much for something that I'm only getting one thing in. I kind of wish that they would be more of a mom and pop place that could still kind of keep things on the side, because I was a customer there,
Yeah.
I was a customer there actually from 96 to 2001. Then when I came back to Iowa, I stopped, and then I went back out there and got a PO box there. One of the guys from Criminal Minds had a PO box there, as well as one of the ladies from Gilligan's Island. It was just kind of a popular place.
Yeah.
Joe Mantegna I ran into him a couple times getting my mail. It was kind of fun, but I kind of wish that they would have said, oh, yeah, we'll just keep it for you unofficially, but no. But this one, 1,913 days, got it in. And looking at Star Tiger, a lot of people had gotten in here recently, things that they had sent in 3 or 4 years ago. So if you sent to Mike Fitzgerald back in 2019 or 2020, don't give up hope.
Right? Jeez. The 5.5-year return there for the non-mathematically inclined. Wow, it's always fun seeing those old ones roll in. I actually keep a list now, since I started getting a whole bunch of them at one point. I keep a list now of any that have taken 2 years or more to come back to me.
Okay.
And yeah, I've gotten up to, I think I may have hit 20 on that list now over all my time on there. And I should say that's also only including successes, because Richard Dent of the Chicago Bears sent me one back after, I think, 7 years or so with a sorry, I'm too busy to sign note. And it's like,
yeah,
in 7 years, you couldn't find a day to knock out all of the mail. I mean, geez. But, yeah.
So, and I'm actually pretty lucky, because the house that I bought in 2006 that I sold in 2015 is actually Jack Smalling's old house.
Yeah.
Or his dad's old house, who wrote the baseball address book. And so I moved in, and I was a TTMer, and then the person I sold it to is a TTMer. So if anything ever comes back in there, I get it like a Facebook message from him. He's like, you got another card. So a lot of people don't keep up with people who bought their house, and it's supposed to be something secret and everything. But having a good relationship with the people that bought your house, and they haven't found any skeletons in the attic, so to speak, is a good thing. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's so always good to finally have something back in the mailbox there again. And like you said, earning the name of the show that way. Because I mean, anytime it's empty, I'm like, do we even want to do one this week? But yeah, we kind of have to. So yeah, always good to see that. And yeah, I might have to send one off to Fitzgerald myself once I have an address I know I'm going to be in for a few years there, just to be on the safe side. But yeah, that'll be. I mean, it's a former Expo. He was a catcher. I like the Expos. I was a catcher in Little League. I always like sending off those guys and getting them in person too. I mean, like Marty Peavy, getting him at a Iowa Cubs game years ago. There, he's a former manager there and former Expos catcher. So it's all fun stuff.
I actually added something to my autograph supply collecting list, and this is a sign of getting older. I added a magnifying glass.
I need to think about that too. I mean, there are times when I have to have like my phone flashlight out to like, what does that say? Is that 2012? No, 2013. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did add that recently.
I might even take it a step further and get like one of the lighted magnifying glasses to go along with it there. So yeah. Good call though. That's definitely something any collector out there might want to have on hand, even if you don't have old eyes like our 40+ ones here. So definitely look into that. Well, that about does it for this week's show. Again, a big thanks to Clemente Lisi joining us in Clemente's world earlier on there. Had a great segment with him. And anytime that we can do a deep dive on some 1970s and 80s soccer names, just randomly name dropping those is always fun. And we did that a little bit in there. So always good to have him on the show. Troy, of course, thanks for sitting in here on the co-host seat as we try to get you in as much as we can. I know Next week, I believe you're out, so we'll probably have Aaron Littleton sitting in that spot as well. And of course, a big thanks to Ruthie Baker running all the production work for us back in at her place. They're getting it listenable to everybody and making sure that it goes from our mouths to your ears every week. Next week, we've got Collector's Corner. Not sure who we're going to talk to just yet, but we'll find somebody to talk to about a collection and see what they've got there for all of us. And I've got a few people in mind I've talked to before, and I'll see if I can get them on the show here. A couple other ones here. I know we've got one that I'd like to talk to about some spring training stuff. I might try to get him on for January, though, but we'll see about that. We'll figure out who we can get on for everything in here. Well, Troy, before we go ahead and call it a day, any other thoughts here on your mind besides Ghost Cyclones, obviously?
That's the big thing. And you talking about spring training is so wonderful. I mean, it seems so long, but it's only three months away. So
not even that, 2 months until you get the few early stragglers rolling in. So yeah,
right. 3 months until the nice weather hits Iowa.
Yes, there we go.
But I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah. It's amazing how just you seeing that on the calendar is like, light at the end of the tunnel. There we go. So there you go. Hope everybody has a great week out there as we wish you many happy returns. And we'll see you next week here on TTM Cast.
Everyone, be good.